There is a version of you that has to die before the version God is building can breathe. And nobody warned you that the dying part would feel like this. You prayed for growth. You didn't pray for the ground to disappear under you. You asked God to make you more like Him, and now everything that used to feel safe, your old comfort, your old certainty, your old way of surviving is being taken apart piece by piece, and it doesn't feel like a blessing. It feels like a sentence. Here's what no one tells you: when a bone heals wrong, it doesn't just stay slightly crooked, it sets. It calcifies around the wrong position, and the body adapts to the deformity until walking on it feels normal, until normal is actually broken. And if that bone is ever going to heal correctly, a surgeon has to do something that sounds almost cruel. He has to re-break it, on purpose. There is no other way to fix what healed wrong except to go through pain again, this time with a plan. That is what is happening to you right now, and it is not punishment, it is correction. You built an identity around wounds that never set properly, around approval, around control, around proving yourself, around being needed so you'd never be left. And for years it worked well enough. You walked on it. You called it strength, but it was compensation, not healing, and God, the only surgeon who has ever seen the X-ray of your whole life, is not willing to let you keep limping through eternity on a foundation that was never sound. So He re-breaks what healed wrong, not because He is angry, because He is thorough. Think for a moment about how the body actually protects a bad fracture. It doesn't just tolerate the deformity, it builds around it. Muscles shift to compensate, nerves reroute their signals. The whole system quietly reorganizes itself so the crooked structure feels like home. That's the terrifying part. Your soul can do the exact same thing. You can build an entire personality, an entire way of relating to people, an entire spiritual routine, all engineered around a wound that was never actually healed. And it can feel completely normal for years. Some people live their whole lives on a bone that was never set. They just call the limp personality and move on. This is the part where most people quit, not because the pain is unbearable. Pain alone rarely makes someone walk away from God. They quit because they misdiagnose the pain. They assume that if God loved them, the process would feel gentler. They confuse the absence of comfort with the absence of love, and that misdiagnosis is more dangerous than the pain itself, because it convinces you to stop treatment right when the bone is finally being set in the correct position. Scripture never hid this from us. Hebrews describes discipline as something no one enjoys in the moment. It is described as painful, not peaceful, at the time it happens, yet producing a harvest of righteousness afterward for those who don't walk away from it. That word afterward matters. There is a window between the breaking and the healing where you will not feel the benefit yet. You will only feel the break. And that window is exactly where your faith is being tested, not to see if you believe God exists, but to see if you believe He is still good while it hurts. Think about what actually happens during a proper reset. The surgeon doesn't randomly smash the limb, there's precision. There's a plan for exactly how the bone needs to be repositioned so the muscles, the nerves, the blood flow can all function the way they were designed to. God's process is the same. He is not improvising pain onto your life. He is dismantling one specific compensation at a time, the relationship you were using as an idol, the achievement you were using as armor, the image you were performing so no one would see what was underneath. And it rarely happens all at once. That's another detail almost nobody prepares you for. God doesn't usually re-break everything in a single moment. He works one compensation at a time because a body and a soul can only survive so much correction before it needs time to stabilize. So the job disappears first. Then, once you've stopped leaning on achievement, the relationship that was propping up your sense of worth quietly falls apart too. Then the image you'd built, the one where you always had it together, gets stripped in front of people you didn't want watching. It can feel like God is dismantling you piece by piece with no end in sight. He isn't dismantling you, He's isolating each fracture so none of them heal wrong twice. Here is where the story shifts because most teaching stops at trust the pain and leaves you there indefinitely. But there's a second phase that changes everything. After the bone is reset, it doesn't stay in a cast forever. There comes a moment, and you will know it when it happens, where the same pressure that once meant damage now means strength returning. The therapy that follows a proper reset is designed to rebuild what the deformity never allowed you to have: full range of motion, not the limited movement of the old compensation. Actual freedom. This is what sanctification is actually for. Not to make you smaller, more restricted, more careful, but to give you back a range of motion your old identity never had. The patience you couldn't access before because control was easier. The intimacy you avoided because it required trust you'd never practiced. The peace that doesn't depend on everyone approving of you. None of that was available on the old, wrongly healed structure. It is only available now on the other side of the reset. But here's the detail almost no one talks about, and it is the one that reframes the entire experience. Pain during healing and pain during damage can feel almost identical in the moment. The nerve doesn't know the difference. Only time, and the one holding the plan, knows whether what you're feeling is decay or repair. That is why you cannot diagnose your season by sensation alone. You have to ask a different question than does this hurt. You have to ask, is this producing alignment or is this producing collapse? One drains you toward despair. The other, even while it hurts, is quietly building the exact shape you were meant to carry all along. There's one more thing worth sitting with, because it's the part that usually gets skipped in favor of a tidy ending. Some seasons of resetting take far longer than you expect. A bone can take months, a soul can take years, and in that waiting there will be days you're convinced nothing is happening at all, that you've simply been left in the cast and forgotten. You haven't. Growth beneath a cast is invisible by design. You are not meant to see the healing while it's happening. You are only meant to trust the one who said it, and keep showing up to the next appointment instead of ripping the cast off early out of impatience, which is exactly how a bone heals wrong a second time. And here is something else recovery always requires, something you were never meant to carry through alone. Nobody heals a serious fracture in isolation. There is always someone else in the room, someone steadying the limb while it's reset, someone helping you take the first careful steps again when the muscle has forgotten how to trust its own weight. That is what real community of faith is for. Not to explain away your pain, not to rush your healing, but to stand close enough to catch you the moment your legs shake. If you have pulled away from every person who might see you limping, you have removed one of the very tools God intended to use in your own resetting. Let someone see the cast. Let someone walk beside you through the appointments you'd rather skip alone. Isolation doesn't protect the healing, it only slows it. So if you are in a season where God has taken away the job that made you feel valuable, the relationship that made you feel chosen, the routine that made you feel in control, stop asking Him to put the old structure back. It was never going to hold your full weight. It was only ever going to keep failing in the same place over and over for the rest of your life if He let it stand. What feels like abandonment right now is actually the most attentive thing that has ever happened to you. A surgeon does not re-break a bone he does not intend to heal. He does not spend that kind of precision on something he's planning to discard. The very fact that the breaking is this deliberate is proof of how much rebuilding is coming. You are not being punished. You are being reset by the only hands qualified to know exactly where the fracture actually is, the one underneath the one you can see. And there is a moment coming, closer than it feels right now, when you will put weight on this new alignment for the first time and it will hold. Not because the pain disappeared, but because what it built underneath the pain was never meant to be temporary. The question is not whether the healing is real. The question is whether you'll still be standing on it, trusting the hands doing the setting when it finally does.